Good afternoon, everybody. It's David Schlotthauer here with another detailed live tropical weather update as we track Invest 95L this afternoon into the evening hours as this disturbance continues to move off towards the west at 10 to 15 miles an hour. Again, we're going to be spending a lot of our time, pretty much all of our time in this live stream talking about 95L, as this now has a pretty significant chance at becoming our next named storm. We could be looking at a tropical storm or a hurricane now moving across the eastern Caribbean into the central Caribbean by the latter part of this weekend into early next week. And again, we could be looking at a hurricane. And don't I normally not say that this early in the season? And that's because the background state is pretty conducive, unusually conducive, as what the NHC was talking about in their update yesterday, because just what we're seeing out there, that low-level swirl is really well apparent. Now, when we take a look at our floater satellite imagery, this is again from Dr. Levi Cowan, and we got to re-update this because there was an issue with it. And we could actually see right now that the system is definitely becoming better organized. We can see the mid-level center is still not quite aligned yet, but that's not going to take a whole lot of time given a lot of deep convection that we're seeing. Low-level winds, you can see them out of the westerly direction. They're looping all the way around. So this is a pretty organized system. If Recon is able to, or was able to fly out into that system, this would probably be a tropical depression by now with winds of about 30 or 35 miles an hour because of how organized this actually is. Now, there is some Saharan dust, but that's well to the north here. You can see a little bit of the ghostly look to the satellite imagery, and that's again due to some of the dust. So yes, right now, Invest 95L really has a pretty high chance. Right now, I'm giving it a 75, or no wait, an 80 and 90% chance right now of tropical formation for this update, and that's because of how organized it is. And that is no surprise. Actually, I give it a 70 and 90% chance, that is, in today's update. So yeah, this is going right towards the Lesser Antilles. If we actually click on that and actually view that, there we go. Let me zoom this in so you all can see a little bit better. And if we look at the graphical outlook here from the National Hurricane Center, they do state Invest 95L, a tropical wave located several hundred miles west-southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands, continues to produce disorganized showers and thunderstorm activity. Environmental conditions are forecasted to be conducive, and development of this system is now anticipated. A tropical depression or tropical storm is likely to form this weekend, several hundred miles east of the Windward Islands, while the system moves westward at 15 to 20 miles an hour. Interest in the Lesser Antilles should monitor the progress of this system. And again, we're looking at a 60 to 80% chance from the National Hurricane Center, but in my words, I think it's more like 70 to 90% chance, because that 90% chance in 7 days means the system is going to probably be over here and it would already have formed. Okay, and so that's why the chances right now are pretty high. Now, Invest 94L, nothing to really worry about other than there's going to be a lot of showers and a lot of thunderstorm activity. That's what the satellite here illustrates. A lot of deep convection on that system, but we're not expecting a whole lot of development with that. Right now, it's still fairly low. The National Hurricane Center only giving this a 10 to 30% chance of tropical formation in the next 2 to 7 days. All right, so really not a whole lot with that other than rain, wind, and maybe some minor coastal impacts. So now back to with what we're concerned about with 95L. Right now, 95L, roughly speaking, is right about in here, somewhere in there. okay, and it's now over really high upper ocean heat content. Water temperatures are already warm enough to support development with this system. And as it continues to move off again towards this westerly direction, it's going to be running into even warmer sea surface temperatures, and the upper ocean heat content will even be higher than it is already. So sea surface temperatures, not a problem with this system. In fact, they are close to 30 Celsius already in the Lesser and Greater Antilles, which is a really big concern for the time of the year that we're in. So the upper ocean heat content, not a problem at all for 95L. So now when we look at tropical tidbits here, this is a look at the GFS model. This is a look at the 850 millibar layer. This is at 5,000 feet above the surface. And what we're looking at here is the vorticity plot, how much spin there is in the atmosphere. So I'm going to do a quick illustration. What this all means to a lot of you that don't understand these models very well is simply to put it, let's forward this actually out to right here, because this gives us an idea what we're looking for. So this is the vorticity plot, and what we're seeing here is that cyclone, that tropical cyclone approaching the southern end of the Lesser Antilles, like Martinique, if you are in Guadeloupe, Barbados, if you're on St. Kitts and Nevis, these islands here, or Nevis, that's how you say it. We're looking at a lot of vorticity, and this is, again, how much spin there is at 5,000 feet. And when you think about a ballerina on an ice skating rink, like we talked about yesterday, when we spread those arms wide out, right? When we really stretch those arms out, we're not going to spin a hole really that much fast, right? But when we put those arms in, we're going to spin a whole lot faster. This is basically the laws of physics of the conservation angular momentum. When things are much more compact, they spin up a lot more faster. When they are broad in nature, they take a lot more time to get better organized. In this case, this is not going to be a whole lot broad enough to prevent this from developing. And I think this is going to really be on its way of becoming a fairly robust monster in the Caribbean. As we go forward in time, we can see there is 95L, and soon behind it, we're going to have to keep an eye on this little guy. Now, latest models have trended back on this system. If we go to the previous run, not as organized as what we were thinking, and so that is good news, but still, this could be our next entity that we will have to watch in future model runs if this is going to get another name. If we could have one or two name storms, we're really going to have to see on how that pans out. And then once this gets into the Central Caribbean, this could get very close to Jamaica, and then possibly very close perhaps to the Cayman Islands before it turns towards the Yucatan Peninsula by not this weekend, but the weekend after 4th of July. So if you have any 4th of July plans, should be fine over the Lesser Antilles. Well, actually, maybe not. Depends on the second system on how that all evolves. But then possibly for Jamaica, may not be celebrating 4th of July very easily. And that's because 95L, soon to become Beryl in the next 3 to 5 days, could be impacting Jamaica before it hits the Yucatan. The European model, same perimeter here, looking at that. Possibly, again, a tropical storm or hurricane on approach to the Lesser Antilles. And then for sure, probably a tropical storm or hurricane once we go into Tuesday this coming week, once this gets into the Central Caribbean. And then once this gets into the Southern Caribbean and Western Caribbean, by Thursday, July the 4th, yep, we may have a tropical system to really be concerned about there on this model. And we just looked at two models, two deterministic forecasts, a closer zoomed in view here on WeatherBell. This is a look at the surface wind plot. So this gives us an idea who is going to get the strongest winds. And with these islands, these funnel the wind more interestingly. So the strongest winds are actually between these islands versus on the islands themselves. So going forward here, we can see what this is going to look like. Right on the edge of your screen, we could be looking at, now the plot is down here showing 98-mile-an-hour winds. So at this point, based on the GFS model, this could be a hurricane. Now, it doesn't have to be that way. If we look at prior runs, the last run showed this still at a hurricane, but a little more slower. The model before that showed a hurricane as well. Actually, this is very much likely to become one based on our ensembles and the trends that we're looking at. Now, if this is going to be approaching Barbados by Monday late morning, early afternoon-ish, so you can see winds here. Hurricane force winds, by the way, are in the beige color. So hurricane force winds moving onshore of Barbados by Monday late morning, early afternoon, and then perhaps by Monday afternoon, winds still very strong, and then these approach the islands. This is a pretty strong system. 102-mile-an-hour winds, perhaps even 111. That would be a major hurricane on the GFS model. We shall see if that actually ends up being the case, because if that happens, we could be looking at one of the earliest major hurricanes of the Atlantic hurricane season. Actually, if this is able to become a hurricane by the wee hours of, say, Sunday night, this would be one of the earliest hurricanes. I mean, we're talking late June, early July, the first day of July here. We're looking at a hurricane. And then this would be moving into the Caribbean, where it could have 115 plus mile-an-hour winds, perhaps, as that moves on through. When we look at the Greater Antilles, again, tracking that system here, now looking at the lower level wind field here. We don't have the surface winds, unfortunately, to show you, but this is certainly a hurricane as it continues to move well into perhaps Jamaica. Now, this is going to be clipping the Haitian Peninsula and the southern the southern portion there of the Dominican Republic by Tuesday and a Wednesday, July 3rd and 4th, and perhaps 4th of July there, with tropical storm to hurricane force winds impacting that island. Yeah, people in Jamaica, you need to get prepared for some significant winds and significant impacts because of that. Now, going back to the Lesser Antilles, looking at our rainfall totals on the GFS model, again, where the center impacts, well, actually, much of these islands here could have rain amounts greater than 3 to 4 inches. But if you get the head of this, if you get the main track where the heaviest rain passes over, there could be rain amounts perhaps exceeding 6 or 7 inches. One little plot here indicating rain amounts perhaps 10 inches. All right, that's a lot of water. And if we go back before that, you can really see it accumulate. So some flood concerns perhaps over some of these islands of the Lesser Antilles, especially south of Guadeloupe and south of, say, Dominica, as well as Martinique, could really get a lot of impacts. All right, so now looking at I hope I did pretty good at that. Let's see what the Euro shows actually. The 12Z run. The 12Z run, not as significant, but showing still 3 to 5 inches of rainfall by the time we go into the 4th of July of next week. So now, looking at tropical tidbits, I like to show you all this. Let's zoom on in so we can show you this a little bit better so you all understand what this means. So this is the spaghetti plot for Invest 95L from Tropical Tidbits, Dr. Levi Cowan at tropicaltidbits.com. There's no link. Maybe there's a link in the live stream below. And we can see the spaghetti plot here showing us some tightly clustered forecasts. Now, this does not mean that, okay, I'm on Barbados, I need to get prepared for a landfall. This could trend further north or further south, but most of the models now over the last couple of days have beelining Barbados, as well as, say, if you're on Martinique, St. Kitts and Nevis, as well as south of the Guadeloupe Island, showing a lot of consensus here. Now, I want you all to understand that this is the point of origin. This does not mean that, oh, the winds do extend this far out, okay? So you could imagine, if you follow this, I would say tropical storm force winds could expand all the way out to Dominica from this storm, as well as Guadalupe. And if you kind of follow the track now, the southern side, your hurricane force winds are probably going to only extend somewhere out to here, because when you think about how the storm motion is going to be, you can see winds are usually stronger on the northern side as systems typically move off towards the west-northwest. But nevertheless, impacts are expected, and this is the 5-day mark. This is day 4, day 3, day 2, and day 1, and here is day 6 and day 7. So timing and track is pretty tightly clustered as far as I see here on the spaghetti plot. Now, what about our hurricane models? Now, that was part of those hurricane models, but here's a better detailed view at that, showing us that the GFS model is on the northern end of the guidance because it shows that the system could be more intense. And take note, the UK Met Office is more southerly with its track because it ends up being a little weaker, because a deeper system at this point would be able to trend further north with its movement versus a shallower vortex that is able to kind of scrim the ABC Islands and Venezuela by that day 4 to 5 period. But pretty tightly clustered here too, from both the UK Met as well as the HAFS A and HAFS B model, which we will show you here in a second on the intensity forecast. So this is a look at the intensity forecast, and the reason why the title specifically shows that hurricane this weekend in the Caribbean is because it's probably going to end up being that way based on our intensity envelope. So the UK Met, of course, is an outlier here because most of our models, by the way, this is the Canadian model, this is the HAFS A, the HAFS B, the SHIPS model, the Statistical Hurricane Intensity Prediction System, is what SHIPS stands for. Okay, it's an acronym. It's a type of model, but it uses the intensity equations to better predict. And then we got the HMON, and up here we got the HWRF. All right, so a lot of our hurricane models indicating a major hurricane. All right, actually only one hurricane model not showing that, but the point here is that roughly within 3 days, so right in this window, we could be looking at either a high-end tropical storm with winds of 70 miles an hour, or we could be looking at a hurricane as strong as a Category 4 with 140 plus mile an hour winds perhaps within the next 4 to 5 days. And yeah, this explicitly shows rapid intensification on some of these models, which is very alarming. For early July, we got to understand that. Early July, we could be looking at a major hurricane in the Caribbean when in reality, it's not even favorable for this time of the year. So that's very alarming. So now, why is this in a favorable environment? What makes the conditions pretty favorable? Well, first of all, very favorable at least right now from the SHIPS model through at least about day 5.5, maybe day 6. We got to understand shear is actually going to be on the decrease overall, perhaps getting to as low as 5 knots by day 4. So shear is not a problem. So when we look at this, we're going to do our check marks. So maximum intensity or the max potential intensity here is very high. So big check mark for that potentially. Wind shear is very low. Sea surface temperature is not a problem. Moisture content, it's iffy. So we're going to kind of put a little mark, kind of a slant like that. And then upper ocean heat content is very high for this time of the year. So all of these parameters are in place, and that is why our outcome here is showing winds that could reach major hurricane intensity. It is a very slight possibility, or actually it's a good possibility that happens. Even the SHIPS model showing a non-zero chance that winds could increase, especially in the next 24 hours. There's a 17% chance that winds could increase 25 knots in the next 24 hours, which is on the lower end of the scale of rapid intensification. But my point being here is this is quite favorable. All right, there is definitely no doubt about it, even the plot system here showing a possible category 2 or 3 hurricane even before it reaches the Lesser Antilles by this weekend into early next week. So now another plot that I wanted to show you all too is weathernerds.org. I showed you all this in yesterday's live stream discussion. We're going to do the same thing in this live stream discussion. What are these ensembles showing from the Euro? Pretty tightly clustered in the next 3 days. This is day 4, by the way. Fairly tightly clustered in this mini envelope. And these, to be quite honest, are tracks only of tropical depression strength. Not many high-end tracks on this showing, oh, we're going to have a major hurricane, which is very surprising because yesterday's discussion, we were looking at potentially high-end tropical storm or perhaps a low-grade hurricane. All right. And then when we go forward, then maybe more rapid strengthening perhaps once this gets into the central Caribbean. And now, to be quite honest, we have to keep an eye on wave number 2. So there are 2 systems that we have to watch. Wave number 1 here, wave number 2 here. And each of these waves bring additional rainfall and significant impacts. So we got to keep in mind about that. And we also got to keep in mind, if we go back here, let's go here. The ensembles are used for a reason, because we could still have tracks that aim this towards, say, Trinidad and Tobago, or we could have this aim towards, say, portions of the Central Lesser Antilles, even including Guadeloupe, Dominica, as well as Martinique down here. And one of these tracks even take this pretty close to the Dominican Republic within about 4 to 5 days. So there is a possibility that even some areas along the coast here could get clipped, because there's that uncertainty in regards to, okay, if this trends further south, areas like Venezuela, the ABC Islands get hit, versus if this goes north, areas such as Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, as well as the Dominican Republic, including Puerto Rico as well, could get impacted. All right, so that's that. By the way, we could, some of these tracks here are pretty alarmingly intense. All right, now let's take a look at the GFS model, because now that has just came out, showing us pretty much a similar outcome here with its intensity forecast, with most tracks indicating that we could be looking at a strong tropical storm or hurricane. But again, global models don't resolve the equations as well as hurricane models. And that's why we might have to put a little bit more weight on our hurricane model family versus our global model family. And this really says a lot. I've been seeing this. This is the 4th model run already, indicating that most of these models have this at a hurricane. Now, for reference, let's actually take a look at the halves A. Let's actually look at where that is here so I can actually get a general idea. So the halves A, or we'll use the halves B in today's update. Possibly the worst case scenario. And we're going to go to 95L. Actually, this is just rendering. Oh, man. Come on, you gotta be kidding me. It doesn't want to show the entire model. See if we get the parent run. No, this doesn't even have. Wow, that's surprisingly. This does not have. Let's see if the halves A is out. Okay, the halves A is a little bit more further ahead, so we'll have to use the halves A model. As we go forward here, this really strengthens. And then once this gets into these islands, now this is Barbados. So for reference, this is Barbados. That's tropical storm force winds. Right up in here, this is hurricane force winds just south of Barbados. And this continues to intensify as it crosses some of these islands. Let me actually see what those islands are. Sorry, folks, I should know my geography by now, but there's so many islands, and I talked about this yesterday. So That's Grenada. Okay, so Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines are down there. So St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and then that is St. Lucia that is down there. So St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You got Grenada down here, Barbados. Yeah, not looking good. Not looking good at all. That's pretty intense. And that's a 4-day forecast. Very important. 4-day forecast indicating a major hurricane. So let's go back and now let's take a look at the HAVS-B. And I'm hoping Tropical Tidbits here is very friendly enough at giving us some history on that. So HAVS-B, 95L, and okay, that actually is nice. It's actually much further rendered than what's on Weather Bell. So this is the HAVS-B run, which is a little different than the HAVS-A. These are new hurricane models, by the way. Then those got released last year when we were tracking Lee. And look at this. This goes right over. Okay, this is a very intense hurricane moving, and actually tropical storm force winds extend out to here, 34 knots. That's tropical storm force already approaching by Monday late morning. So yeah, a lot of you are gonna have to evacuate that island on this particular model, because once we go forward, look at the eye passes over the eye wall. That is 105 knots. That's 120 plus mile-an-hour winds impacting Barbados by afternoon of Monday, July the 1st, 2024. So literally early next week, we're going to be seeing a hurricane here. And this could further intensify once it gets over St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as well as just north of Grenada there. We could be looking at, of course, hurricane force winds. And look at this wind maximum. It's 121 knot winds. That's major hurricane category 4 intensity with that eye wall. And pressures here, 954 millibars. And this could intensify further as it moves further west. Now, looking at the previous run, when we go forward out in time, this could further organize and intensify based on those conditions. But right now, this is St. Vincent and the Grenadine, the main island here. If we look at the current run, this is a little further north. So there has been a recent trend to the north on this latest HAVS-B run. We go and look at the HAVS-A. Let's go to the HAVS-A. Go back a little bit, not as intense. Also a little further south because it thinks the vortex is not as strong. But it still hits Barbados here, and then it could hit Grenada in the Lesser Antilles sometime Monday afternoon. So there is a big consensus here. The purple on your screen, by the way, is hurricane force winds, if you all are wondering about that. You don't need to guess if those are hurricane force winds. These are hurricane force winds. And then the darker green colors on your screen, that's this area here, that's tropical storm force. So you can kind of get an idea what the wind field looks like. Tropical storm impacting Barbados. Even so, hurricane winds miss that island entirely on this run. So let's go and look at the HAVS-A one last time, and let's zoom out. Actually, are we able to do that? Yes, we are. All right, we are able to. And let's go to relative humidity. Very cool thing that Tropical Tidbits is able to put this together for us. So looking at the HAVS-B, again, which is a hurricane model. It's a specific, it's used for hurricane tracking. It is not a global model like the GFS. Now, I'm not saying that the Euro is wrong because it's the only one that's not showing a hurricane, but it is very unusual to see that because a lot of our hurricane models are showing that, that this could become a hurricane. Now, this may not be a hurricane when it hits the islands. That is a possibility, but it is not out of the question with such a background state that is this favorable, this early in the hurricane season, relatively speaking. It is really alarming to see something like this. All right. And we can see why. If we just go back and look at this, this is again that deep layer moisture plot that I always like looking at. The browner colors are dry air. The turquoise and green, dark green colors are moisture. A lot of moisture in the atmosphere. So you can see there's your SAL up here to the north, a little bit of dry air encroaching into the system, but it's not going to do a whole lot because look at what happens. By the time we go into, say, Saturday, 60 hours from now, here's your drier air. Now, there is drier air, of course. That's always a limiting factor, but there's no shear. Shear is a product or is a variable that forces that drier air in. So if we had northerly shear coming in out of this direction, then this system won't really develop at all because that drier air is encroaching onto the system. But in this case, we're not seeing a lot of shear at all with this system, and that's why the half-speed run really shows a very compact system, lots of moisture surrounding the entire system. Be careful about wave number 2 back here. That's also a tropical storm on this run. And then going forward, you can see what the half-speed does with all that moisture. So now that we talked about that, let's talk about the deep layer wind shear. Now, again, shear is not wind. It's wind speed and wind direction change with height. Okay, people think that, oh, upper level winds are strong. That means that's the shear. You're looking at the shear there. It's part of it, but shear could go from the surface all the way up to about, say, 45,000 feet high. So a pretty deep layer. That's why we use this 200 millibar, 850 millibar shear forecast. Now, easy way to see this is if we go and look at, say, let's go out to 48 hours. So Saturday morning, let's plot this area. So we can do an average box sounding, which is a really cool product. It's not available. Dang it. Let's see if we can go a little closer. Okay, we're going to have to use the 060 run for reference because it's just not working. Nope, it's not going to work. So what I'm going to see if I can do here, I'm going to go back to the halves-B and do a closer zoomed in view and just do the whole box here. See if that helps. And it's going to work, so that's good. So we can see that a max shear is 11 knots, but we got to understand that the system is moving with that deep layer flow. So when we look at relative shear up here, 6 knots. There's not a whole lot. Shear is very light. In the next, this is 42 hours out. Let's see if we're able to move that box along. All right, so we have to do a new plot. So when we go forward, now later on in the period, let's go to day 3, and let's do another box sounding. Again, shear is very important. And let's run that through and let's see what it shows, right? And it's going to show you very little wind shear. See these arrows? Yeah, there's a little bit of northeasterly shear, but it's not very strong at all. Steering flow here is 16 knots. So when you kind of draw the vector, relatively speaking, and by the way, your low-level steering flow is actually like this, and your mid-level steering flow is like this. So when you kind of think about that, you actually do have, in relative sense, let's see if I get this right. So upper level winds are doing this. So that is more of a northerly shear of 5 knots. So shear is very light. The shear is not going to be a problem here. And once this gets to Barbados, let's see what the plot looks like then. Actually, let's go back a little bit by 1 frame. Let's bring that up again. See, 3 knots of shear. There's not a whole lot. Virtually no shear. And look at the relative humidity. 82% on this average sounding. That's pretty high. That is not very low at all with the amount of moisture that we have in the deep layer with that light shear. Now, max shear is looking more in the upper parts of the atmosphere. So there is some shear there, but in the deep layer, relatively speaking, 3 knots. It's very light. That's virtually no shear at all. And to be specific, towards the very end of the forecast. One more sounding, folks. I know some of you are like, ugh, too much sounding detail. We are at 9 knots. So then the shear does pick up a little bit more here, even in the deep layers, because if you follow the steering flow, then you kind of take an average box, or wait, no, yeah, you take the mid-levels, we get more of a northwesterly shear, if that makes sense. So that's what we're seeing in the modeling on why I think this is going to be a pest that we have to kind of monitor. So now one last product that I wanted to show you is what about the steering of the system? So in general, when we look, actually, you know what? It would probably be better if we use the GFS model. So we're going to now look at the deep trop. Let's go and look at, let's look at this parameter. This kind of covers most of the Caribbean. And let's go to, where's our 500 millibar steering. Actually, let's do this. This is a 3-in-1 plot. So what we're looking at here is, I'm going to do as good as I can to run this down as great detail as I can. So these wind barbs are the flags that you see. See these right here? These are your wind barbs. These lines are your thicknesses at 500 millibars. That's 18,000 feet. And of course, these colors, the color shading is your vorticity in the low levels. So this is showing our low levels, our mid levels, and our upper levels. So kind of a deep plot system. So the steering of this storm is going to be governed on what goes on to our north. And there is a little bit of a tut here, an upper level tropospheric trough that's going to actually retrograde. Now, if this would just stay in one spot or even go further south, it would really shear off 95L. But in this case, this is actually retrograding and lifting northward gradually, allowing an anticyclone to develop underneath this system or overhead of 95L. And once this gets into the Caribbean, the mid-level ridge to the north is mainly what's governing this system. You can see it right here, a little bit of a ridge that is helping, another little bit of a ridge over here. And our upper levels here, our background flow is hitting this too. So there's a deep layer steering flow that's going to govern this towards the westerly direction. Now going forward, you can see where that moves into with that mid-level ridge that's going to be in place. All right. Wow, that was a 37-minute discussion. I did want to show you all sea surface temperatures since we have a couple more minutes to do our discussion here. Actually, let's look at the NHC. Did they update? Did they update? Oh, we're at 90%. Hallelujah on that. Actually, that's what my thumbnail actually shows. Man, I don't know what is up with me this go around. I've gotten it every single time, even on Twitter. If you guys follow me or have been following me on Twitter, it's at WeatherUnited1. There's a link in the description below this live stream. I've been nailing this before they have. Not saying they're the experts, but I'm just saying my confidence is as high and as good as theirs. So this now has a 90% chance. That's virtually like it's going to happen. A tropical wave located several hundred miles west-southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands continues to produce showers and thunderstorms. They did not even say disorganized. This activity is beginning to show signs of organization, and environmental conditions are now conducive. Thus, further development of this system is anticipated, and a tropical depression or storm is likely to form over the next couple of days while the system moves westward at 15 to 20 miles an hour, which means probably by Saturday, we could see a tropical depression or storm out of 95L. So yes, virtually, we're really watching that. This has a 20 to 30% chance. That's 94L. Again, expected to bring impacts, rain, wind, and some flooding concerns there to the Yucatan, portions thereof, Playa del Carmen, the Bay of Campeche, you name it, going to see some impacts. But again, more importantly, 95L now has a very high chance of becoming a tropical depression or storm by the weekend. Okay. Sea surface temperatures now, I wanted to go to Cyclonic for this one, cyclonicwx.com. If we go to our sea surface temperature analysis, go and look at the deep tropics here, we can definitely see, of course, sea surface temperatures, no problemo with our system. Absolutely no problem at all whatsoever. And this is going to develop even further. Sea surface temperatures in the mid to upper 80s in the Caribbean, perhaps even some upper 80s here near the Haitian Peninsula. And even off the coast of Louisiana, we're seeing some very warm temperatures. And look at this, folks. Hurricane Tracks has talked about this too, that the heat content in the Atlantic is as high as it's ever been in satellite modern era. And sea surface temperatures here are running about 4 to 8 degrees Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit, folks, above the long-term average. And look at that AMO look. Really warm, horsey look to this. Yep, we can see why. Things are very conducive out there right now. And I want to tell you all, and I cannot stress enough, because you guys might think that, oh, Cape Verde season is here already. Can't believe it. That's because it is very early for Cape Verde season to even get going. And when we look at climatology, you can go to the National Hurricane Center and see this. I mean, our first named storm does not usually form until June the 20th. Our second named storm does not even form until July the 17th. So what I'm telling you is we might get again, that second wave behind 95L. If that becomes named, we're literally well ahead of the game. It doesn't seem like it, but I mean, climatology right now, really, it's kind of broken temporarily. It's taking a little hiatus as we are keeping an eye on those two areas. And now another way to see this is simply looking at tropical storm activity on a climatological basis. I mean, folks, it's June. I've said this too many times. It's June the 27th, and we act like it's already August the 27th. This is what we should be seeing in late August, not late June, folks. I mean, yeah. So we are here. Look at the little valley. I mean, think about it. We see the Atlantic as quiet as it is in early June, as it is in late June, so to speak. Not happening. Not happening. We're going to get some early July development out of this because of those two waves potentially. Well, one of those waves will, and the other wave might. But remember, we're here. We got a long way to go. We got all the way until the 10th of September. Yes, the 10th to be exact, is when the Atlantic is at its most active. And when you draw a line from here all the way to about, say, late November, we could have tropical development even into early December this year, for all we know, because of how warm the Atlantic actually is. I don't say that to cause panic, to cause fear, to cause anything. Science backs it all up. Look it up for yourself. It really matches. In fact, when we look at climatology, when we look at history, go and look at 1933. Does that ring a bell? 1933, folks, that hurricane season. Let's go down. Oh, wait, no. Not her. Yeah, wait. Yeah, Hurricane 1933 was a very busy season. And look at what we got. Category 2 in late June. And this would probably be one of the earliest major hurricanes if it does form in early July. We'll see about that. Okay, so let's go to Hurricane Emily. Then we'll get to questions. Hurricane Emily, because there's been some little chit chat about that. Hurricane Emily in 2005. Look at that. Category 5 in the Caribbean. What? July the 11th. July the 11th, we had a Category 5 Emily. So, and look where it formed. It formed nearly in the same spot that 95L did. So, yeah, could this repeat itself? 2005, now looking at 2024, nearly 20 years later, 19 to be exact, we have a similar track with what Emily did. Wow, Beryl gonna kind of copycat Emily from 2005, and that really was a big system. 160 mile an hour hurricane there, and look how compact Emily was. So a very compact system. Look what we're gonna see again, a compact system. So yeah, folks, this has my concern. This really has my attention for many reasons because of what we saw in 2005 and now what we're seeing now in 2024. Okay, so all right, that sums up the 45-minute discussion. Let's get on to questions. We'll have questions for about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. Any questions? We have 350 people watching this live stream right now. So if you guys are new, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share this live stream with your family and friends on social media, because let's get to questions. And also, make sure you ring the bell icon. Some of you have been doing that, so I do appreciate that. And what that looks like here on the channel is simply by going over to my channel. Actually, where is it? Where's our notification button? It's not here for some reason. Oh, wait. Oh, because I'm on my own channel. No, duh. No, duh. We have to actually go to Pat's Path Predictor, and you can see, make sure it's selected to all on my channel. When it's selected to all, you get all notifications. Okay, oh, it'll be busy in August to October. Oh, yeah, for sure, Ian Peanuts and Scenario Fan. Oh, of course. Justin Wilson, what are the chances this becomes a Cat 5 hurricane like Half-Speed suggests? Right now, it's probably a 2% chance because you cannot predict a Category 5 just from right now. You just can't. A major hurricane of any intensity is possible, okay? My mic is cutting out, apparently. Can you guys hear me fine? I'm cutting out, I'm sorry. What are the odds this season looks like 2004? Well, you're probably referring to 2005. Pierce, you're probably referring to that. So the chances of it being like 2005 are certainly a possibility. That had 28 named storms. We're probably going to be looking at more in that ball of about 24 to 28 named storms, maybe 29. Again, I cannot stress enough, okay? It doesn't look like that's going to happen, but wait until August, especially in August, September, and October. That's the jackpot of a lot of the activity in the Atlantic. Climatology, folks, please understand that. Okay, how soon do you think TCG will be complete for 95L? I would say by Friday night, it should be close or at tropical depression status. I would think on this model, based on what we're seeing here, I would not be surprised if this is at least a hurricane once it reaches the Lesser Antilles, especially, again, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as well as Grenada, Barbados, and some of those islands to the north. Doesn't surprise me. For sure, a tropical storm. That is a given at this point. We are going to have a named storm by the time it reaches the Lesser Antilles, given what we have today in today's model runs. Oh, I wanted to show you all. Did I never show you the H-Wharf? Oh my gosh, should have shown you all the H-Wharf model. The H-Wharf, really bullish, especially, this is actually rendering, so we're going to actually have to wait for it to finish rendering. But this actually had a major hurricane moving over these islands. So it is very much possible that this is going to be at least a tropical storm. A hurricane is certainly on the deck of cards, but once this gets into the Eastern Caribbean, for sure, I think we're going to have a hurricane of some intensity to contend with. But we're waiting patiently for our 18Z run to come out. And it's rendering right now. It's actually a little stronger in this run at 968 millibars, and that is a major hurricane. 100 knot winds in 90 hours. That's a major hurricane. I'm watching from Lafayette, Louisiana. What's up, Marcus? Welcome, brother. Welcome. MRM. Okay, chase things. Oh, wait. We can't really say the storm will hit Trinidad quite yet, everyone. It's still a little too far out to tell. And this is a very compact system. And you can see just based on the wind diameter. Let's go to the halves-B for that reference. Again, can't stress enough. Very compact system. I mean, only a couple of islands at a time might see hurricane force winds. I mean, gosh, Guadeloupe may not even see tropical storm force winds at all, versus these other islands to the south could have major hurricane force winds. This is a very compact nature system. Yeah, exactly. When Recon gets into the system, I'm hoping they'll do that within the next couple of days. Let me actually check their outlook. Let me see with what they got. So if we go to this website, I will be able to tell you what their outlook is. So nothing out for... So they're going to fly into 94L, but not 95L yet. Oh, wait, no. Possible low-level invest mission into 95L east of the Windward Islands. So this would be not tomorrow. This would be for Saturday. They're going to probably fly into the system and to give us better information. And that's what this actually shows right here. So we should hopefully know now. It might be sooner. It depends just on how organized the system is. If it deserves a mission even sooner than what is forecasted, then that's probably what they'll do. Nella, what's up, Nella R? St. Lucia here, very concerned. Okay, yeah, so you're, oh my gosh, yeah, you're right in harm's way. Yeah, some areas here on St. Lucia really need to be on the lookout for this. Yeah, that's the island in itself. Yeah, very touristy area. And so, yeah, if this goes, and if it hits this area, yeah, these islands are in very serious trouble, especially on the northern end, because that's when the wind comes around. And some of these bays in here, let's zoom in. Some of these estuaries could have some serious storm surge. Big wave action, boy. Lots of high surf, lots of pier damage, that sort of thing, potentially. And if we look at this from Tropical Tidbits, we can see there it is. There is St. Lucia right there, and that is a concerning thing. I'm in the north of the island. Wow. So you're up over here. Let me actually go to Google Maps. So you're up near probably Gros Islet, Rodney Bay, perhaps. You're up here. And yeah, you can get clipped with hurricane force winds. That's the purple. Now, again, folks, purple, grape juice purple. That is hurricane force winds. That's 64 knots. That's 72, 73 miles an hour. That's actually 74 or so, roughly. That's hurricane force. And then tropical storm force winds extend outward of that. Anything you see in green is tropical storm. You need to get preparations going. Now, because this is in about 4 days, you do have some time to get prepared, because I'm sure there's going to be hurricane watches out, tropical storm warnings out. And I would not be surprised if this becomes a PTC by tomorrow, which is a potential tropical cyclone. All right. Is the U.S. needs to watch this system? Definitely, Bama. Could it have a chance of hitting Florida later on or stay in a straight path? I still don't see any indications that this is going to hit Florida. Some of the second wave might get a little further north, but most of the activity right now will stay south of Florida. But of course, there's a non-zero chance that even Florida might have something out of this. We don't know for a fact because, again, this is still too far out in time. Remember, folks, this is day 4, day 5, day 6, and even day 7 out here. So a week, and this is not even close to Florida at that point. So there is a lot of uncertainty still as far as, okay, could this hit the Gulf Coast? Is this going to hit Louisiana? We don't know yet. All right. All we know for right now is that southern Lesser Antilles from about, so I'm going to color code some islands for you all. So Guadeloupe, you're in class yellow. So I'm going to circle in Guadeloupe Island, these 2 islands right here, class yellow. Class orange if you're on Dominica. Martinique, you're in class red. So that means you should be getting prepared for this. And then, especially based on our ensembles and some of our spaghetti plots, St. Lucia, Barbados, and even St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you need to already be getting prepared for this ahead of time. And then some of the islands down here, you're in class red. Grenada, those islands there in class red. So if you're highlighted, yellow means monitor it. Still monitor it. Don't necessarily get prepared yet. Class orange means you should be considering to getting things going. Red means you should get prepared no matter, okay, it's even so it's small, we don't know where it's exactly going to go. Class pink here means you better get prepared or else your life and your property are in some serious danger. I don't say that very lightly because of what we're seeing. The models, the trends are there for that. So that's what we're seeing. But out here right now, I'm not highlighting anything yet. It's just too far out. Okay. Sorry if my voice sounds a little more cracky today, and that's just because it's a little dry here. Yeah, and it's going to get hot next week. So that's going to be a lot of fun. It's supposed to be 115 here, by the way, where I'm at. Okay, row scale chaser says one model is at a category 5. Oh my. So Dark Steve, okay, Justin Wilson said Dark Steve Habsby wants a cat 5 now. Let's actually see that. Oh gosh, that's very significant. This is the halves A. Let's go to halves B. I'm not seeing that. I'm only seeing 146 mile an hour winds. That's a category 4. I'm not seeing a category 5 on this. Certainly strong though. By the way, again, there's Barbados. The eye passing over, that's 121 mile an hour winds. Moving it over again, Grenada as well as, say, St. Kitts and Nevis, as well as, again, that other island right there, St. Lucia. Oops, and I took it off. There we go. St. Lucia could have 140 mile an hour winds. And because of the topography, let's actually kind of analyze that island a little bit more. There's a couple of tall mountains here, and if you get the perfect wind funneling right through here, there could be wind gusts over 170 miles an hour perhaps through this passage because that wind funneling effect really accelerates the wind. So keep that in mind. And other areas you might not see, or you may only see wind gusts maybe up to about 60 to 70 miles an hour, where other areas you could see wind gusts in excess of 180 miles an hour perhaps. St. Lucia is cooked. At this point, certainly. It is no surprise. It is very concerning. Cancun will be hit. So Cancun, so let's go to Cancun. So Cancun, it is a very slight possibility. Again, given that our divergent in the envelope is, oops, let me go back to the extension there. There we go. So given that, there's a lot of uncertainty, but yes, the Yucatan, Quintana Roo definitely has a non-zero chance, and that includes Cancun over here, near the Gulf of Mexico, that kind of borderline of the Caribbean into the Gulf of Mexico. By the way, 94L could swing some heavy rainfall towards that area, so it's not just one, but another system is kind of on its heels later for next week, and that again could have some big impacts. But right now, again, because of this divergent flow that we're seeing, or not divergent flow, the divergence in the ensembles and spaghetti plot, there is no hard hit forecast that, oh, it's going to hit Cancun. We already know it's going to hit Cancun. We don't know yet. Tracking a hurricane like this is like tracking a needle in the haystack. Try looking for a needle in the haystack and let me know how hard that is to find. It's not going to be easy. All right, so Barbados definitely cooked as well. Barbados doesn't look to get it as significant as, say, St. Lucia, but yeah, you might get near hurricane force winds on the Hafsby. It just depends on what model you look at. Again, this is not a set in stone forecast. It's not like, oh, 140 mile an hour winds hitting Barbados or St. Lucia. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. These are models that provide us maybe some insights that, oh, based on the background state, the system 95L could get this intense. Models are not perfect. Okay, models are a guessing game for us as forecasters. Based on what we see, we relay that information. We like, oh, based on most of the model guidance, 95L could end up being a category 2 or 3 hurricane. Crazy weather dude says, I just heard a huge crash of thunder. Ooh boy, stormy out there, isn't it? Remember to hit that like button, folks. Yeah, I agree. Hit that like button, folks. We have 410 people watching right now, which is awesome. So get the word out to those people that are impacted or will be impacted by this. And due to the enormously high demand, I am going to try to live stream on this. Now, there's no Doppler radar that we're able to get. However, if we get a TDR mission, a tail Doppler radar mission from the P3 Orion, we might get some radar data from that. But we don't have radar coverage here, unfortunately, from these islands. And until I could find a resource to that, it's going to be very hard to track this down as it hits these islands, but I will try my best at providing live streaming coverage. Will Jamaica be affected by this? Once again, I'll say this again, Jamaica, it's going to be a close call for Jamaica as this passes just to the south. If we, again, go to tropical tidbits, you can see right there, very close call. And if we actually look at prior model runs, it is within that area. It is within hand's reach. So it is possible. And you know, Jamaica could get impacted not only by wind, but if it hits Jamaica head on, there could be some significant rainfall, something in the books that could lead to life-threatening flooding, landslide potential. We could see some storm surge flooding as well due to the heavy rainfall and some high surf. So yes, some big impacts on Jamaica if this heads towards you, and maybe even the Cayman Islands, which are the small islands right here. Just a little baby island there, but pretty populated, and that could be significantly impacted. Actually, the Cayman Islands might be home. Let's see how many people live. Oh, I wish it gave us a population. That would be helpful, but I'm sure there's more than, say, 100,000 people on that island in itself. Welcome, everybody, again, that are just tuning in live. We're doing questionnaire time for a little bit here, probably another 10 minutes. Again, chat is going a little fast today because, again, we do have 400 people watching. That's a lot of people. That's a big audience. So submit your question in the chat, and I will do my best at getting to it as quickly as I can. In fact, I will be sitting here waiting for your guys' questions. So if you guys have any questions in regards to 95L, please ask me those questions. We're not, again, going to spend a whole lot of time on 94L. Not that that's not a big system, but again, compared to 95L, which one would you rather me talk about more, right? And you would all say, oh, David, come on, dude, you know it. Common sense. Talk about 95L, right? That's what we're talking about. You're very welcome, Nella. All right. Cayman Islands, 68,000. Oh, I was close. I was close. Looked like there was more, though. Yep, so someone even stepped onto my answer there. 95L, talk about it. Yeah, exactly. Because 95L, maybe a hurricane hitting those islands versus a little mini system impacting the Yucatan, only bringing some minor impacts, some rain, maybe some flooding, and some breezy winds, versus this big monster over here. 95L could be a really big system. There is no cone right now. By the way, the thumbnail that I did bring up, that I did make on this YouTube for the live stream, that's basically from the NHC. They do actually now, I've noticed this a lot with better technology. They're actually able to highlight an area here. They're able to highlight a parameter where they think the development is likely. And that's red, and that's 90%. So that kind of illustrates to my thumbnail. And again, I mean, it's like it matches. I mean, made the thumbnail before they did, and it's like, I'm right. I thought I would not get that correctly. I thought, oh my gosh, this is clickbait. This thumbnail's clickbait. Actually, it's 70-90. I mean, I'm looking at my stream, 70-90 right there, and it's 70-90 on the National Hurricane Center. So what a trip on that. I got it down. I was spot on with the chances. David, you need to look at the H-Wharf now. Okay, Justin. Okay, Justin. You don't have to yell at me, brother. No offense, though, but sounds like you were yelling at me. I'm sorry. You're probably sorry about that. 127 knots. That's still not a Category 5. That's 949 millibars. Yeah, I'm not seeing a Category 5 on this. I am not seeing a Category 5 at all. Will it hit Florida? Simba and friends, most likely not for right now. I don't see it hitting Florida for the time being. I know, Justin. I'm just joking with you. I'm just teasing with you, bud. But the way it was worded, you know. H-Wharf is more southern. Greetings from Miami, Florida. You think southern Florida could get some weather out of this? There's a possibility, especially if the system goes south and that moisture gets picked up, gets stretched out, deformation, moisture deformation. It's what we saw in early June with that first area of interest. There may be some impacts, but as far as like what you're seeing here, hopefully not. Hopefully not. Will the hot eye hit St. Lucia? A lot of questions coming in about that. Right now, there is a lot of uncertainty predicting exactly where the eye is going to happen. Really, this hasn't gone even organized for a tropical storm yet. So there's going to be a lot of waffling around. This may go a little further north, or this could go a little further south. But there seems to be a consolidation with a lot of models in this area south of the Butterfly Island. Yes, I call it the Butterfly Island because it looks like a butterfly. It looks like a butterfly. Can be Dennis 2.0 or Emily. This could have the same track like Emily. Let's see what wind gusts look like. Oh, yeah. Wow. Look at those wind gusts. Right over St. Lucia, 160-mile-an-hour wind gusts. That is insane. That is very much insane. So, wow. Right over that area. Jeez. Butterfly Island is Guadalupe. Yeah, it does look like the Butterfly Island. You just can just imagine that. Simulated IR. Does that even have it? Oh, it does. Yeah, so simulated IR. Wow. That is right over Barbados. That is, whew, that is, this is really big. Yeah, look at those cloud tops on this. Negative 83 Celsius. That is very cold. So Chase is asking, could this rapidly intensify? Well, on this model, certainly. It is looking that way. Rapid intensification with very high upper ocean heat content, lots of moisture in the atmosphere. It is no surprise. And in fact, if we take a look at this one more time, the maximum potential intensity, keep in mind, that's 174 knots. Right up there. Take a look at that. That is very, very high. Exceptionally high. So this definitely has a ceiling. I don't think it's going to be that strong. Man, even 150 knots, this is all category 5, by the way. This is basically based on the shear, the sea surface temperatures, the moisture plot. This is giving us a possible expectation of how strong this could end up being based on these parameters. And it's actually mainly taken into account with sea surface temperatures, it looks like. Really not a whole lot of shear taken. Well, shear is going to be very light. So that's one of the reasons why. Supernova 22, keep in mind, halves B has a convective bias. How do we know that for a fact? It did really well with Lee. Remember with Lee, folks? It showed Lee becoming really intense, and it did. It was Cat 5. So these are new models, so we have to take them more, we have to be careful with what we predict here. But they are both showing a formidable hurricane. Either way, it really is. And there is a difference between those two models. From the halves A and the halves B, both showing different. It does look more convective bias because there's a lot of red. That is a outside possibility. L ads. Oh my goodness. Sorry if there's ads playing. That's YouTube for you. YouTube does it all. But yeah. That's that's IR. This is water vapor imagery. Wow, look at the detail on that. It's a very warm eye, and it's very intense. Very intense. Again, the pressures on that are very low. Exceptionally low. I'm just going to really have to watch and see what happens with that. Perceptible water, definitely off the charts. 5 inches over that area. So definitely not an issue there. What's up, Brian Trapped Hurricanes? What's up, Danton? And again, for a lot of those that are watching still, I don't like to scare you all. I'm not here to scare you all. I'm relaying what the models are telling me. And especially when the GFS, when you see consensus that looks like this, I mean, ask yourselves. I mean, certainly a hurricane on the table, a major hurricane, that's a slight possibility for right now. That is a slight possibility. David, will this hit Jamaica? It's possible this hits Jamaica. And if it does impact Jamaica, it's going to be on right in the early wee morning hours of 4th of July. 4th of July. By the way, I did submit my schedule for my uploading for next week, and there have been some minor changes. I just realized I was invited to a pancake breakfast for 4th of July, so that's a tradition that we like to do with our family. So I'm not going to be able to have a video out in the morning, but I'm going to squeeze something in for the afternoon. So, yeah. Okay, boy. Oh, man, it's 5:30. I'm actually going to have to head out. It's Thursday, and you know what Thursday means? I want you all to guess. What do I do on Thursday nights? What do I do on Thursday nights, folks? I want you all to guess. Little guessing game. One last question from Aiden. Okay, questions are closed. Do you think we will see a Dorian this year? It is a possibility. It's not out of the question with such high upper ocean heat. Everything is a possibility. I'm not saying that because I don't know how to forecast, but predicting a Hurricane Dorian situation is like predicting a typhoon or a Patricia 50 years from now. You don't know. But the sea surface temperatures, the upper ocean heat content, and the favorability with the La Nina that we have makes those risks a little higher. Okay. Someone said church. Go to church. Chase said church. Yes. So I do have church tonight. It is Thursday. Every Thursday and Thursday nights and Sunday mornings, I have church. And then, of course, the other days after that, I don't have anything. But I do really want you guys to please be safe. Again, I could only do so much. You guys have to help me out in getting the word out to anyone that you know, your family, your friends about this, because we're going to be talking about this for much of next week. I'm strongly concerned about, because we do have this disturbance that is moving through. All right, this is an hour and 15-minute stream. I will be praying for you guys. Praise the Lord. That maybe this won't hit Florida. Hopefully it doesn't. But if it does, you guys need to be prepared for this. For more information, please go to the National Hurricane Center for more information, or do it right now for 317 people that are watching. Go and check out my Twitter page, okay? Please check out my Twitter page. I will have more information on this tonight as this unfolds. And of course, you can go ahead and stare at the hot temperatures that we're going to be seeing here in California. Oh my gosh, it's going to be terrible next week. I cannot even imagine. Hopefully this does not end up being the case, because if it does, it's going to be a very hard week ahead for me doing live streaming in the hot weather up in my room. All right, share, like, and subscribe. And I think that's going to end the stream for today, because again, I will be back with you more tomorrow, of course, with another video, or I think tomorrow is a video format. We'll see. This did so well that maybe we will have to do another live stream, because a lot of you do like that. All right. Well, anyways, thank you all for watching. Share, like, and subscribe, and I'll be back with you more tomorrow with another update on this disturbance.